Hey, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Reflection, where we talk about all the topics that we have talked about during the week in Wellbeing TV. And this week it has been, mmm, is that healthy or not? And so I am joined by Sally Ann and Sue. Hey, Sal, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Hey,
How are you,
Sue.
Sue?
Yes, I'm good. I'm good, thanks.
That's good. Are you ready to dive in and have a bit of a reflection time?
Yes,
Yep.
yes. This
Excellent,
week has
excellent.
been a good topic.
Yeah, it has been a great topic. And you know what? Before I actually jump into today's topic, I want to give a big shout out to yesterday's birthday girl, which was the lovely Betty in our Strong Healthy Women community. She turned 80 yesterday. And so big kisses to you, Betty.
Happy
So,
birthday, Betty.
um, and
Happy
you know
birthday,
what?
Betty.
I was really thinking about Betty when we were talking about this topic during the week as well too, because I remember her coming to me. Oh, it was probably last year. It could even have been the year before. And she said to me, "You know what? I'd like to do that transformation thingy that you're doing, but I just don't think that I could eat it, and I can't imagine that my hubby's going to do it either. And I don't want to have to cook two meals. And I don't really know what like quinoa and chia seeds and all that type of stuff. I just don't have a clue." And I said to her, "You know what, Betty? Look, here's some things." So I gave her a little snippets of it, all of those things. And I said, "Here's a little recipe to make." So she made those things up and she said, "We loved it." And I said, "Great. That's great." And so she did this challenge with us. So she did that transformation and she lost like 5% body fat during the time that she did that. And, she lost a heap of weight. And as a woman who is, you know, I don't like saying this word, but, the years are on type of thing. And we always think that we can't shift body fat. She is an absolute classic example of that when you want to do something, you can do it. And it just means putting in the effort, a tiny little bit of effort to think differently. And she did it. So big shout out, Betty.
Yeah, well done.
Good work, Betty.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So, so let's start with you today. What has been the biggest takeaway or the biggest piece of advice that you want to give today based on the topic of the week?
Well, I think a couple of things. Firstly, if
Hmm.
you eat whole foods, fresh is best. So then you don't have to really worry too much if you can buy organic food and that sort of thing. You don't have to worry about the labels. But I think that the other important thing is that if you're really um, serious about eating healthy, you need to educate yourself. It's like anything we do. You've got to know what you're putting in your mouth. You've got to know what is on the label and what they mean. And you've both covered this really well during the week. I picked up on a few things and little tricks like, they might say low in fat, but if you have a look at the label, it's high in sugar because they want it to taste.
Mm,
And so for me, I think the biggest tip from me is eating as much whole food and not processed as you can, and just educating,
mm.
understanding what all that information is on the back of the label, and rather than just throwing the can in when you're going along the supermarket. And it'll take a little bit of time to understand it, but once you do, it becomes second nature, and you know what to avoid and what to, what's good and what isn't.
Yeah, totally right. So for anybody who is just tuning in today, all week we have been talking about cracking the food label. So this is the download that you get today. So all you need to do is click on the link below and you can grab that. And so we'll do a bit of a summary of that fairly soon as well too. What about you, Sel? Have you got anything to add to that, or what was your biggest takeaway?
The biggest takeaway for me was the health food aisle is not always the health food aisle.
Oh yes, that was a great
huge.
thing to do, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was huge. So what we did was I picked up this protein ball from the health food aisle, and then I picked up this bar from the Becky aisle. And as it turns out, this bar here was a healthier choice than this protein ball. Although they're both very yummy, I will say, but you know, when you go into the health food section, you do expect that they are going to be super, super healthy, but not necessarily the case as far as what's on the back of that label. And that's why it's so important to understand that. So what are the three areas?
That protein ball, sorry, just to chime in, I think
No.
the thing that I found very interesting with the protein ball, I think the carbs were higher than the protein, but
They were.
for my thinking, it's like, well, we'll just pull off one of the ingredients, put it on the label and say that it's healthy, you know, because we all know that we should have protein with every single meal, you know, so even in your snacks. So people looking for snacks, oh, a protein ball, not looking at the label because they're in the health food aisle, it says a protein ball, so your thought goes, well, this has to be healthy.
Yeah. So I'm just going to pull this up, ladies. So this is part of the document that you get in this download. And so depending on where you're chiming in, there are various labels in this document. So this is the Australian one we're actually looking at. But it really, look at the protein, look at the carbs, and look at the fats. So they are your three macronutrients. So Sal, do you want to dive into just really quickly what those macronutrients are all about, what they do for the body?
Sure. Your macronutrients are essentially how every meal is made up. So you want protein, you want good fats, and you want good carbohydrates. Your proteins are going to help with muscle repair. They're going to kickstart your metabolism.
Yes.
Because it's harder for your body to break down protein. So your metabolism is always working, which means you'll be losing weight if that is your goal of losing weight. Good fats are going to help with your digestive system, brain, like your brain fog and that sort of stuff. And your good carbohydrates are going to give you the energy that you need during the day.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. And you do get energy also from those fats as well too, those good healthy fats. So you got anything to add into those macros?
No, just that I think that, again, it comes back to education, because a lot of people will go, oh, I can't eat any carbs and I can't eat any fat. And I know this is probably off topic, but, you know, that's what I pick up from what Sal said. We need a component of each of those groups in every meal. And there's a reason why we have to have them. But it is just that I think over the years we've had so many diets come out that you can't eat this, you can't eat that, that, you know, people are not really having a balanced diet if they're not having all those macros and micros that you need. It's, again, education, just coming back to understanding why you're eating it, what it is, and why you're eating it. As Sal said, you know, protein helps build our muscles, and you know, you need carbohydrates, because if you don't eat those, and have a balance, you just don't get your energy, you know, and that energy, that 3 o'clock slump comes along. But the trick is to know what sort of carbs to eat. But they're not necessarily a no-no. It's just educating yourself.
Yeah, and with those carbohydrates, when people say that they're cutting them out, we often ask the question, are you eating fruit and veg? And the answer is generally yes. And so they may not even be aware
Well,
that they're carbohydrates as well too.
yeah.
And that's where it comes back down to what you're saying there is education is really, really important as well. So the next thing is, I think on this food label that you really want to understand the ingredients that you're eating. So look at the ingredients and go, okay, this particular thing, I can say it and I know what it is. If you can't say it and you don't know what it is, then it's probably really, really processed and you probably need to just put that thing back on the shelf. So I think that's one of the first areas to look at on a food label. And sometimes you might even need to take in, let me just get up, one of these things with you, a magnifying glass, because they make them so small that they are very hard to see, particularly as we're getting that little bit older as well too. So yeah, check the ingredients. That's the first place you want to go to, and then pop them back on the shelf. The next thing is you want to have a look at, it might say energy, or it might say kilojoules, or it might say calories. So that's actually going to be making up how much you eat during the course of the day. So we're not so much about counting calories and knowing all of those things, but you really do want to take a look or at this part of it. And because if for some reason you might not be aware that one of those tiny little things that you're eating might have, half of your daily intake of food that you need. And so by just having that one little thing, then what that means is each meal that you've added on during the course of the day, you might very well overeat as well too. So understanding that aspect of it as well too. I think the other thing is looking for all of the extra benefits to you. Does it have fiber? Does it have potassium? So there are some good things that you're looking for on those food labels as well too. And there are some bad things that you want to look at. So trans fats, so they're no good for your body. Sodium. So, Sel, do you want to just tell us, recap on how much sodium we're supposed to have? You delved into this a little bit, the sodium and the sugar component. That was a really interesting thing. You still got that cup hanging around?
No, I should have done it up. It was quite interesting. So we as women, our daily intake should be between about 25 milligrams of sodium, which is about 6 teaspoons a day. On average, an adult female is having 17 teaspoons of sugar a day. And as I said in that live, I said, would we sit there, fill a bowl up with sugar and just eat 7 teaspoons of sugar? We'd puke. I look at my kids having those Slurpees and I just think, ugh, how can you even drink that because it's so sweet? But you don't even think about all the hidden sugars that are in there. The other one was the sodium, which is, excuse me, we should be having, our recommended daily intake is about 810 milligrams of sodium. And as an example, we had a client who was doing her own healthy eating program, and it was one of the programs where you order your food and they deliver it for the week and that sort of thing. She was only having lunch and dinner, and she just was not losing the weight. She was exercising, her breakfast was smoothies and all sorts of things, just was not losing the weight or would be putting weight on. So I asked her to bring me in one of her lunch and dinner meals so I could have a look. Yeah. Now, these were healthy meals, and just in those 2 meals was, I think it was like 3,010 milligrams of salt. Now, that's insane. You know, that's, what's that, 4 times the amount of salt that or sodium that was her recommended daily intake. No way was she going to be losing weight, because as we know, salt retains fluid, and you're just not getting rid of your fluid. So they're 2 of the things that you really, really must look out for. And with sugars, we know that sugars, there's at least 56 different names for sugar. And with your with the nutrition labels, they don't have to put all those sugar names on there. So, you know, when it has no added sugar, that's all very well and good, but those sugars that aren't added would be hidden somewhere else.
Yeah,
because
which comes back to what Sue was saying. Yeah, go on, Sue.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was just going to say, you know, people, like you were saying, there's carbs in fruit and veg and things like that. Well, sugars are in fruits as well. And people think, oh, well, you know, I'm eating lots of fruit, but they're not realising that there's the natural sugars in there also. So it's just, being aware and understanding. And I think one of the problems is, and I know I've felt this way too, is it can become all a bit too hard, you know, when you've got to, and if you don't understand and you're just sort of hearing all these things, you think, oh, look, that's just too much information. It's all too hard. But perhaps, you know, with programs like this, or if you get yourself, you know, join a group like, say, Strong Healthy Women, where you are getting this information in bite-sized pieces and you're learning as you go along. And you've got that support there. It's a lot easier then to make the changes that you need to make.
Yes.
I heard this. I have a friend of mine use.
Sorry, Peter. I was just going to say, in some way where you're not embarrassed to ask the question. You know, Peter was talking about when she first started out with her healthy eating and, you know, macros and micros, and she was like, you know, and I won't ask the question because maybe that's something that I should know. You want to find that group where you can ask those questions and not be
That's right. Or even like you were saying, you did cover it, but, you know, well, why can't we have salt or too much salt? Or, you know, what are the health effects of having too much salt or too much sugar? But people would probably turn around and say, and not ask that question because they'd feel a little bit embarrassed thinking, oh, maybe I should know all that. But just getting back to basics, I think, is important as well.
Yeah, totally. I just wanted to say, a friend of mine always uses this analogy, you know, do you want to climb the mountain, you know, the rough face of the mountain, you know, without any help, or do you want to walk up the golden staircase up the mountain? You know, what's going to be easiest to do? So it is about taking that one step at a time and really making it as easy for yourself as you possibly can. And that's what we did in this guide. It was to just break it down so it's a quick little 10-second scan of the label so you can look at it. So if it's something you've never bought before, or if it's something that you are now saying to yourself, I want to be healthier, I still need to be able to buy some of these processed foods because I need the ease of it, or I've got family. And so you want to be able to go, okay, let me look at that and go, is this right for me, or is there something better? And as I said, always just come back to the ingredients. Ingredients is the first thing to look at. And if you don't know what they are, then put it back on the shelf. That's the first golden rule. The second thing is to look at that serving size. So you've got some idea about that serving size, because sometimes what can happen is, now I was showing this little healthy veggie crisps, chippies things. And I was showing this the other day as well too. And when you look at that tiny little packet, that's 4 serves. So for many of us, we could possibly eat that whole packet in one serve, but it is 4 serves. So it's really important to know how much oops, lost my earbud, how big that serve size is so that it makes life easier for you. And then the next thing is understanding that calorie, that energy, that kilojoule breakdown, what's in it. And then from there, the things to eat less of, which is your trans fats and your sodiums, and then what to eat more of. So those things that you're looking for, such as your fiber. Fiber is really, really important, and we don't get enough fiber in our diet these days as well too. And so just understanding what those macros are and how that relates in the scheme of things as well too. So, and when you can do that, then you will start to see those small changes happening. So just start with one thing and then move from there. So Sal, have you got anything else you wanted to add in today in regards to this? Is it healthy? Is it not healthy?
If you have downloaded the guide, you know, take a little bit of time today and go through your cupboard and have a look at your staple items. And,
Good
you know,
idea.
people, you know, we were talking about not getting enough food in our diet. So maybe you have bran flakes for breakfast. So just check the ingredients out on your bran flakes. You'll be surprised that a lot of those are full of sugar. Next step, do not be embarrassed to be in the supermarket for 2 hours checking out the labels, taking your booklet with you, or, you know, downloading it to your phone so you can flick through it on your phone, have a look what you're buying. You know, as both Peter and Sue said, education is key. So take that time to educate yourself and don't be embarrassed about who's watching you at the supermarket with, you know, the can of kidney beans. And another thing to remember too, you know, ingredient, like your different brands can be different as well. You know, you might have 4 different brands of kidney beans, but the ingredients on all of them and the fat content and the sugar and the protein could all be different as well. So just take the time.
I know. I love that you actually mentioned kidney beans, because one of the things that you can do is, if you are going to buy kidney beans as an example. Now, I have kidney beans as a staple in my pantry, but so they are full of sodium. But what I do is I rinse those kidney beans, and when you see them bubbling up as you're rinsing them, you got to wait till all the bubbles are gone. And when you've got all the bubbles gone, then then you've ended up with a healthier type of kidney bean to put into whatever it is that you're about to make. So that's a good little tip for you today as well.
Yeah, that's excellent.
What about you, Sue?
Well, I think you've both covered it, actually. And I think Sal's idea about a little bit of homework for us all to have an audit of the pantry and just seeing what's in there and becoming familiar. And then, I mean, okay, you've got to use it up, but then next time you go, take a little bit more time at the supermarket and select another option. And the other thing is, I know, yes, if you've got a family in particular and you're working, it is easy just to grab all the processed stuff because it's 5 minutes in the oven. But really, it's just as quick sometimes to do a lovely stir fry of veggies and a little bit of protein. Doesn't take that long. So I think trying to get that balance of cutting down on the processed food as much as you can within reason, and keeping that whole food diet going, knowing where it's come from, because you know, to me, that's the healthiest and easiest way of eating well.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well too, Sue, because I know for myself that to actually stand and wait for a takeaway meal to be cooked, I can actually cook a meal in less time. So something as simple as taking your scrambled eggs and adding in your veggies into those scrambled eggs, you know, and having it with the likes of a nice avocado on top of that, you've just got yourself a balanced meal, and literally you can make that in 5 to 7 minutes. I think it's taken me. I've timed myself. So, and
Yeah,
I can assure you, that's right. It doesn't take 5 to 7 minutes to get a takeaway meal. It takes a lot longer. And so I'll often see people sitting there scrolling through their phones whilst they're waiting for that meal. So, and I think it comes down to, in that instance, you feel like you want to have a treat. So you feel like you want something that's different. You might be sick of cooking, as an example. Now, I know we all get like that. I mean, for myself personally, I get like that as well too. But I often, when I get out there and we get another meal from somewhere else, I'm always judging it. I'm always coming back to, oh, hang on a minute. Like, that piece of salmon wasn't cooked as well as what I can cook that piece of salmon. Now, I'm no chef by any imagination, but I like certain flavors. I like it to be tasty. And when it comes out to me and it's that, it's that little bit bland, it's like, well, hang on a minute. I would have been better off cooking this at home and, keeping my $30 in my pocket.
Yeah, and I think, oh, it's gone now. But we were just talking about the takeaways. Oh, yes, the planning and prep. If you are time poor, you just do your planning and prepare some meals during the week so that you can just heat them up and you feel like you don't have to cook, but they're a little bit of a healthier alternative rather than grabbing for the pizza or the takeaway and things like that. So it's just a matter of little tweaks, I think, to the way we view eating and food and yeah, look, we all love a treat, as you say, but you're right, Peter. Mike and I will get a takeaway and we'll go, oh, well, that was all right, but I think we do just as well. And yeah, so it's all, yeah. I think you need to examine why you want the treat, or why as I said, if you're time poor, just get into the habit of having a prep day once a week, or getting the family to be involved, and they can cook a meal one night. So
yeah, that's a great idea. I particularly like soups, and I like my slow cooker. So I will often cook a meal. So I will be cooking a meal, but I will put those things on to be cooking. So one of the things that we really love at Strong Healthy Women is zucchini and fennel soup. It's got 2 ingredients. It's like, it's not that hard. So it's zucchini and fennel, and you just cook it up, steam it up, and then add in some veggie stock. Well, I like veggie stock. Some of the ladies have told me they put chicken stock into it, veggie stock, and I add some herbs just to give it that extra little bit of flavor. Cook it up, beautiful, blend it. It's simply delicious, and it's really great for your tummy as well too. So if you're struggling from a digestive perspective, it's a great one as well. The other one I really enjoy is making up like a little turkey stew as well too. So that's simply really, really delicious, and you just add a little bit of salad onto it, and you can make that up at any point, and it's just there, and you just throw it on the plate, and it's yummy. So there are a lot of things that you can actually do to make that life for you a lot simpler. I know that on a Sunday, Paul and I head into the kitchen and will bake the treat. So whether that be, a healthy carrot cake, or whether that's chocolate chip cookies, or whatever it happens to be, but we do cook that treat on a Sunday, because then we know that we've got it there during the week if we wanted a little treat as well too. So, and particularly if the grandkids call in, then you've got a treat for them as well too, because I know we are acting as the leaders in our household as well too. So if we are following that healthy routine, then the rest of the family is going to follow the healthy routine as well too. So I think that's really important. So any final tips for you, Sel?
Just take the time, to read the download, to go through your pantry, and take the time in the supermarket. Like everything, the more you familiarize yourself with it, the easier effective will be and the quicker your shop will be, and you can beat Peter's 15-minute shop.
There you go. There's a challenge, everyone. It won't be a 15-minute shop this week. I had a look at how much stuff's gone out of my pantry. It's probably been about 6 weeks since I've done a big shop, so there'll be a bigger shopping session coming in. And what about you, Sue?
No, I think we've covered it all really. I think to me it's always, if you can take the unprocessed alternative, that's fine. But maybe a tip might be, as you said, we are role models to our family. So I know my daughter on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, she gets her eldest son who's 6, and they make up healthy snacks for him to take in his lunchbox to school, but he's helping mummy make them. And I think that's the point as well. If you introduce the healthy eating when they're younger, it doesn't mean that he'll never have anything, you know, that's what we would call junk food or something. But I think if they learn the principles, the basic of healthy eating, I think that's good. So if you can have a cooking day with your family today, make a family get together of it.
I'm thinking of one of the grandkids, Addison, and Steph is very, very focused on healthy eating and having her eat healthy from a very, very young age. And her treat is olives.
Yeah.
So or, you know, she's very much the little Greek baby. Well, she's not. She's 3.5 now. So yeah, so she loves that. And as a really good treat, so we were down there the other day having lunch with them, and she got to have some kombucha. So you know, that's yum, more mum, more. So yeah, it is very, very different. Just following on from that tip that Sal actually gave you in regards to your, you know, taking the time in your supermarket, and if you are feeling that little bit embarrassed about standing there and taking that time, what you can do is actually look it up online before you go in there as well. I often do that, is I take that time to look up online, to see. The other thing is, if you're going out for a takeaway meal or you're going out for a meal somewhere, look at what the menu is going to be so you can make some informed decisions. So it's coming back to that education again about what you're about to eat and what's going to be best for you. Because after all, when you...
Sorry, I was just going to say, a lot of the takeaway places now do have that healthier option, you know, like Subway. You don't have to have the bread. You can have a bowl and make your own salad and protein bowl.
Yes, that's right. A lot of those places doing that as well too. So I think it just comes down to, ladies, just taking the time to think about what it is that you want to eat. Try and stick with the whole foods, the real foods, as much as you can. And if you can't and you're going to have those processed foods, then use your 10-second scan, grab that download that we've got there for you today, and so start to become that little bit more familiar with what is actually in the foods that you're eating so that you can live your healthiest life. And I do want to add that your body will respond. So when you feed it well, it responds well as well too. So you will feel like you have more energy. You will feel just lighter in yourself. Your tummy will be happier. So you may have even noticed that sometimes when you eat certain foods, your tummy feels really bloated. That's telling you that that food that you've just eaten is not so good for you. So thanks for joining me today, Sal.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for joining me, Sue.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it feels like the Brady Bunch, you know. We need 3 more tiles filled. We need 3 more tiles filled. We better find 3 more people. That's right. I love the little head thing. Yeah, that's right. All right, ladies, we are over and out, and we will see you all on Monday for Wellbeing TV, where we start our new topic, and that is strength is within you. So be on the lookout for that. So over and out from us. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you soon. See you, Sal.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
Bye,
Bye,
Tina.
everybody.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye, ladies.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.